Kaboom.
Welcome, and I'm calling to order our Trophy Club Town Workshop session to begin at 6 o'clock, and we're looking to finish this by 7. We have a quorum. All of us are here, so good to see everyone. And we also have in our audience Brandon Wright, the town manager, who will be with us officially on our next meeting, December the 11th. I would like to suggest that this is a workshop. There will be no action taken. It's just like talking. You don't understand much sometimes, but when we're an elected official, we cannot just talk at random outside and around. We have to be officially on record. But this does give us an opportunity to state some of our opinions, our thoughts, without being held responsible to them for the rest of our life. So it's a discussion, is what it is. So what you will see on your agenda are 3 items. And what we would like to do is offer the public to make comments regarding these items. And I'm thinking we'll just do all of those public comments pre-discussion of the 3 items. But I will also say that you have 2 minutes to speak. And if you would like to speak now to an item, you're welcome to do that. And if you will come to the podium, state your name and your address, and we will take notes and reference those also as we have our workshop discussion. Is that pretty good? Okey doke. Mark, I'm sorry, this is Mr. Williams.
Ms. Mayor, thank you. My name is Mark Williams. I live at 2516 Trophy Club Drive. We've been here for 10 years. I want to talk a little bit about the roundabouts and our concern with the production of the roundabouts. I've spent quite a bit of time going through the report that was downloaded from the website, and we do appreciate that that was brought up there for us to take a look at. From my education and background, I've been in the construction industry for 35 years, built infrastructure projects across North America, as well as in the Dallas, Texas area. I looked through the report, and there's a couple of concerns that I have. Actually, there's quite a few concerns I have. But I think more importantly, what we need to be looking at is a global solution to the particular problem. I live directly across the street from where one of these roundabouts is going to be. And I think fixing one problem doesn't solve an overall problem for the community. And if you have a roundabout here and a roundabout there, and you've looked at the analysis that goes into those individual ones, you can have a solution for that individual one, but it's going to push the problem to the next location. And even as I drove up here today, driving through the roundabout that is just outside of Tom Thumb, it's got the same backup problems that we're talking about solving here. And all we're going to do is push that problem down to the next intersection, particularly the one at Bobcat and Trophy Club Drive. If you look at the traffic flows and the way people are going to walk through there and drive through there, and the number of kids that are going to the high school, it's going to push that around a circle, and there's going to be a backup on the other side of the street. So what I didn't see in the reports was an analysis of the community and the analysis of the overall traffic flow. And I think if we took some time and reference back to this original development, the development was probably based on the fact that there was going to be a high school, there was going to be middle schools, there was going to be grade schools, and there was going to be X number of homes. So somehow or another, somebody figured out a plan. Maybe it's a little bit conflicted now, but overall, there was a plan, and we should be kind of working back towards that plan. We should be doing our analysis and our study based off of more than one day, which is in the report. We should be doing it across a period of time. We should be looking at the details of what this is going to be and what it means to our community. And I think we also need to step back and take a look, and I would like to know, because I did look a little bit up on the grants. So I do know there's the $2.2 million that's coming out of Denton County. I think there was a separate grant that was called the Vision Grant I don't know where that's at yet, but I'd like to understand where that is. And I think it's important for the community to understand a little bit at the end of the day of what the tax burden is going to be for the homeowners who live here today. I'm probably approaching my time, Ms. Mayor, but at the end of the day, I think we also need to look at what maybe is this part of the problem, is there's a number of people who are using our community as a cut-through. And that, I think, is driving this problem more, that's my personal opinion, more than the people going to and from high school.
Okay.
I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A procedural
Yes.
question. I know this was he spoke to a specific agenda item, correct? So we can address that?
Can we address this
It is
now?
on the agenda, you can address it, or I think you're doing public comments now? or
Yes.
Do you want to bring them back up after everyone has had time?
Okay,
chance to comment?
because you did make one comment that I don't want to forget, so I can either do it now or later, but I do want to.
My
And
preference
I'll
would be.
respond to you later.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, I know this is a public working forum.
Yeah.
And I think we should take it from that fashion. It would be helpful for me to hear from the
Yes.
people who are actually developing this, because it might change some of the comments I had. So at some point, if I could re-respond or get into a working group with a smaller number of people, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And we might be calling you again, so,
More than willing to help.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else, public speaking on any item?
Hi, I'm Marcy Miller. I live next door to the Williams. So I'm at 2514 Trophy Club Drive. I cannot speak as eloquently as Mark did about all of the construction and what we're looking to do with the roundabout in front of our homes when it comes to Trophy Club Drive and Bobcat Boulevard. But what I can say is that I have major concerns when it comes to my kids crossing the street and putting a roundabout in front of it. When I take a look at the analysis, and again, I'm really novice when it comes to construction and where we are here, but what I do notice and what I do see is that when it comes to roundabouts, it's really not helping the flow of the traffic, and that's just me as an observer. When we take a look at in front of, like Mark had said, in front of Tom Thumb, Tom Thumb does not have a continuous flow of traffic. During peak hours, we definitely have backup. And in front of, Trophy Club Drive and Bobcat Boulevard, again, during peak hours, we have traffic, we have backup. And it's not really about people in our community. It's more about people utilizing Trophy Club as a pass-through, because 170 and 377 are backed up, they see traffic, they want to use our community. They go through, which I get. People want to get home faster. I understand that. But they're not part of our community, which means they don't know how many children cross the street. They don't understand the safety precautions or where our schools are. And that does create a little bit of reckless driving, if you will. But that happens within the roundabout in front of Trophy Club Drive. When I see people try and cross, they avoid it at all costs. And it blinds you to the pedestrians that are trying to cross, even with the blinking lights. It does help, but it really is blinding when you're doing that roundabout. And it is a concern of mine because it is used as a crosswalk during school hours and even after school hours. And off-peak times, the traffic is not very heavy. It's not really a concern. There isn't a huge concern about crossing that area. It's more of just, we've got the blinking lights. We have, did that pass my time?
Yes.
I did, okay.
Thank you.
So I was like, is that, okay. Well, anyway, I
listening.
have major concerns. I was like, wait a minute, where is it? Around putting a roundabout just because of the children, and I don't feel like it really provides a high visibility when they're trying to cross during non-peak hours, and right now, that's not a concern.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Other comments, other public comments on either item 1, 2, or 3? All right, so let's open this up to discussion of item number 1, discussion of the Trophy Club intersection traffic study and traffic issues within the town of Trophy Club. Patrick, would you like to speak to this a minute?
Mayor, council, citizens, thank you. To get this conversation started, I want to throw out some things that we know or we should be thinking about. This is our non-residential area part of our town. This is where our schools are, our parks are. So it's the beginning of a residential area leading into our schools and stuff. This has been a traffic problem for a while. TMP is going to come up and talk about that. This is, I think, our third time going through this process as a council and a staff. One of the successes we've had this year is the school district allowing a 10-minute increase in the gap between the middle school and the high school. So now we have a 20-minute gap from when the high school starts and the middle school starts and then lets out in the afternoon. That has dramatically improved our traffic flow in that area. So we have a couple of crossing guards here that live that every day, and they're very happy with that. It's taken us years to have the high school, the school district do that for us, and that is a win for us. So we've seen that increase. When it comes to the funding, this project was initiated a couple of years ago by the former town manager with the idea that the county would help participate in the funding. The county did get a bond. They approved the bond. We are approved for up to $3 million of funding to help with these projects. So the counties let us know that that money's available. We can consolidate it for one roundabout, but the bonds won't be sold for another year or two. So we're still looking at 1 to 2 years down the road before we would see any money from the county. So please keep that in mind. Our funding is available, our half, the money, we did approve a bond this year, so we have some money available on our side. Some of the events that are going to be affecting that area over the next several years. The high school got a bond to build a sports stadium, so we're going to have a new sports stadium built there. That's going to be affecting the traffic pattern during special events at the high school. We're not sure how it's going to affect the roadway at all, if any. There's 377 construction that's going to be taking place. As some people mentioned, the cut-through traffic, that could change that or increase that. And cut-through traffic is an issue for us in this town. It's been that way for a long time. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So just some things to keep in mind as we have this discussion. Some of the other stuff not related to what TMP is going to be telling you. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'd like to introduce and bring up Philip and Tom from TMP to go through the study with you.
Hey, Patrick, refresh my memory. When is the stadium being built? Is that 25?
20,
Yeah, it's 2 years. It's at least 2 years away before they start construction.
Okay.
Yes. So
We were
Is that
told-
start construction or start engineering design work?
it's, I'll
Tom,
have to,
Because when at the meeting I was in, it was engineering design work.
that my understanding in our last meeting was 2027.
okay. Yeah, so it's more than 2 years away. So, okay, sir?
And I need to talk about timing for just a minute, because again, this is a 1-hour workshop and we have 2 other items to talk. So we're going to begin discussion. We're not getting way deep in the weeds probably, because we're not going to have a lot of time for that. Is that okay? Because we need to absolutely take care of the other 2 items as well. So I'm going to watch the time.
Just push me.
Okay, I will, Tom. I'm going to
Okay.
push Bud.
Tom Rutledge with Tignall and Perkins. Good to be here tonight for all of you, Mayor and Council. So as we work with staff and looking to come tonight, this being a workshop, and I like this kind of format. Appreciate the comments from residents. They're the residents who live this, so we try to be sensitive to that. We're not roundabout developers. We've been town engineers since about 1991. So we've been fortunate to be with you during all the growth and watch all the growth that's happened. So a little bit of context. How did we get the roundabout that we've got there today? So when the Highlands came along back in about 2007, and all that started happening, and they started working with the engineer and developer, there was a study done from the Highlands, and one of the big concerns at that time was what's going to happen to Trophy Club Drive and Trophy Lake. In that study, the warrant analysis, there's things there in traffic engineering. There's like 8 warrants that they have, and usually you try to meet about 3 of those minimum to do a signal. So it did trigger that there would need to be a traffic signal there, and as part of the Highlands development, that developer had to put up a certain amount of money toward that, and I couldn't stand here and tell you today what that was. the leadership at that time from both the administration and council was, town didn't want a signal. They just said, hey, we're Trophy Club, we don't want to be a big city, we don't want to maintain a signal, and so what are other options? And so that's what led to the roundabout concept and design. And so from when that got built till today, I think the comment was, correct in how we look at traffic is you do look at your peak times and you tend to react. That's how cities do. They rate your intersections. And so there's some technical things we do with traffic delays, and you rate your intersection based on delays, and it's just from an A to an F. And most cities will be acceptable at a D because the traffic that you have through the Metroplex. So when you get in our smaller communities like that, it tends to be more of a microcosm of what that traffic can look like. But at that time, that's how we ended up with that roundabout. There were some county funds, I think, that were also made available to get the roundabout built. And certainly as traffic has happened and all of that, the growth that's happened around the town, then traffic has gotten more congested in that. And certainly during schools, when you see it the most, there are those times in the morning when school's going to start, and the afternoons when they go to pick them up. So how did we get to where we are here today? So back in 2018, council, through the leadership then, said, hey, we want to study these intersections up there around the high school. And so we looked at Bobcat, Trophy Club, and then we looked at Parkview Drive and Bobcat were the two main focus areas. And so in 2018, we did a TIA, Traffic Impact Analysis. And that means you do counts. And so at those intersections, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yeah, I guess you can. So when you're doing that, when you come to these intersections, we put counts there, and they're video counts. So they're able to know where all the movements occur and what the delay times are, how many cars, and they're done by, they're either 24 or 48 hour counts. So we know we can take a 15-minute slice and to see how many cars are coming to an intersection, what are the delay, and where is that window that is the peak window. So we did those counts during school, and looking at that, we looked at options on what we would do at those intersections. So at the time we did that TIA and went to the council, I'll get ahead of that a little bit, come back to that in a minute. We looked at options for what would we do, what happens if we do nothing, and what happens if we put an always stop there where everybody at these intersections stop. So that creates more delays because especially in these times on a Saturday, people driving down Trophy Club Drive, they got to stop. Well, why are they stopping? There's nobody there. So that didn't seem like a good option. And then it came down essentially between, do you put a signal there? Do you put a roundabout there? And that's what we looked at with that 2018 TIA and those options. 2018, everything kind of information set. There was no action taken at the time. We come along and 4 years later, around 22, the new council and new administration said, hey, let's dust this off. Let's go update the TIA. Let's look at it again. Let's get new counts and let's see what we're seeing. Well, we saw more traffic, and it's correct, the statements that have been made. Ever since anything started on 114, there's been cut-through traffic. And when the Highlands got developed, as people learned their traffic patterns, people have learned to cut through, up through Trophy Club Drive, up through Marshall Creek. When Bobcat got extended to 377, we really started seeing an increase in traffic. Inherently, people, you're right, we're all that way. I do that. I'll take if I can save 30 seconds, I'll take a shortcut. But that's what has happened. And the discussion happened at council during that, I recall, was, is there anything we can do to prevent cut-through traffic? Well, there wasn't. I mean, there's like, even it was discussed of, well, do we go put special stickers on people's cars that they have to be a resident of Trophy Club to keep them from doing that. Well, how do you enforce that? And so there was a lot of those things that got discussed when we went through that and when we updated the TI in 2022. So then later in 2022 was when it came about that the county had talked to the city about that there was going to be, with the bond program, there would be grants available for that, and then what would that look like when we started looking at the options of that. So we did look at the roundabout options at 3 intersections. That's how that kind of came about. Even at Marshall Creek, what would that look like? At that council meeting back in '22, where it looked like we were headed toward the roundabout, there was discussions of, well, do we build one at a time? Do we build 2 or 3 at a time? Our recommendation is you only want to build 1 at a time. It'd be a nightmare if you went that far with it. And so these are some quick studies that we did of what a roundabout might look like, as that's the direction that the town at the time wanted to go in 22 there. So we looked at no improvements, traffic signal, or roundabout. Those were the options that we looked at. The pros and cons, of course, if you don't do anything, you just live with the traffic that you have today. And then it comes down to the signal. So the signal option, that is certainly, it's an option. There's nothing wrong with a signal there. Today, the technology of those are such that they're pretty sophisticated on how you can get them synced up. You can make these where they're all video actuated. Everybody sees that little video thing on top. They think that's for the fire trucks. It's not. It's to read the cars coming to trip the signal. And so you can even override it. The downside is the maintenance of it, power outages. They're not perfect. If something happens, and like all of us have been stuck at a light, sometimes they got to be rebooted and reset. But there are certain things you can do with the training of that with a signal. And so the signals were certainly, it helps to minimize, at least reduce the delays. So if you left it alone like it is today, then certainly the Bobcat traffic is going to look for gaps. And that's what you always look at in terms of traffic. You're looking for those gaps that'll let you pull out into the flow of traffic. So the Bobcat traffic having the stop sign has to wait for a gap there on Trophy Club Drive. And so with the signal, then it'll queue up so that when you see enough cars get queued up in Bobcat, it'll stop the traffic on Trophy Club Drive and let the Bobcat traffic move there. Certainly, as the cons, you have what they do study in the signals versus roundabouts. In signals, you do tend to have more rear-end collisions. If somebody stops to the yellow and somebody's not anticipating, the studies have shown you get the wrecks tend to be a little more severe. Roundabouts, anything you happen in a roundabout is a side end there, and you don't see those as those kind of severe accidents that happen. Those have been studies that have been done nationwide. We're seeing a lot more of them now in the Metroplex. Fort Worth loves them. I think they put too many of them in places I don't like them. We've done some designs for the town of Southlake. They put them in. So they are catching on in certain places, mainly because of not maintaining a signal, and that traffic always does move. There's not a perfect solution for an intersection. There's always going to be pros and cons to each one of these solutions, and there will always be a sense of delay. The roundabout option is just so everybody's always moving, and it does slow your traffic down. It is a calming device that allows for that. But certainly, the signals are certainly an option for you, and that would function fine if you tried to go to the signal. When we looked at this roundabout here, it is what's complicated about this as we studied it. It is that we'll have to acquire right away. So during that time back when we were looking at this in 22, there were discussions that started to be had with the church there and about what that right-of-way taking would be at this corner. And then this property here, there would be some property taken off that backyard in there, at least in this design. Now, we could look at it some more and see, you know, can you pull it down? You know, what can you do? But as you can see, yeah, it is a tight fit in there. That the time that we were looking at this, everybody seemed to be comfortable to continue to move forward with that. And so we presented that information to the council. Everybody seemed to be fine to move forward with the Trophy Club. And so we were asked to start doing surveys at this intersection earlier this year. And so we started doing the topo and right-of-way surveys in the spring of this year, and then we were asked to go on pause from there at that point with that. So same thing as I've already talked about, the whole pros things, it's more of a distribution of your traffic where it does, you do have less delays than you would in a signal or a stop sign. But the biggest downside for these, when you put them in, it's the acquisition of the right-of-way and it's the construction cost versus what a signal would end up costing you there. And then, of course, we looked at the Bobcat one, and I'll just stop. I mean, at Parkview, I'll just stop right here because that
Tom,
seems to be really what
Couple
we want to be.
questions. For the rest of this conversation, would it be reasonable to use $6 million per roundabout for cost?
I think that's high.
You think that's high?
I do.
Okay.
So we tried to look at it a little bit in there, Mr. Sheridan, in that what would this one look like in there in construction costs? So there are some utility relocations. What makes these harder, more expensive, is it's the phasing of construction. So when the one that we have now, you can't just go in there and just blow the intersection up. You got to keep traffic flowing. So you have to build it in more pieces like you would a pie and to keep your traffic. And so it's more expensive and it takes longer because of that. But you'd probably be, if it in today's cost, I think you'd be looking at $3 to $4 million.
3 to 4
cost
million?
for this one.
I've been hearing,
Yeah.
I heard that was the 3 to 4 million was 10 years ago.
Let's see, Philip, what
I've
we
been
had
advised
10
by
years ago, I
several
think-
people that we're up to somewhere between 5 and 6.
I don't know, I'd be up at 5 to 6 on this. So we've looked at we've looked at construction costs there. And I was trying to get more detailed information for you tonight and put that together. I don't have all of it, but we were setting at doing a quantity takeoff and looking at current unit prices that we see in construction as we track those. And so we were seeing in pretty much all of the main infrastructure cost, we were going to be around $2 million for the roadway and drainage, and then the utility relocations and any landscape reworking. The one item in there that I don't have a good handle on is what would that cost be for acquisition of
Land
any
acquisition,
right-of-way property.
Well, I was for this when it was $3 million, and I was against it when people started telling me that inflation was taking us up into the $5 to $6 million range.
Yeah, and I don't know what it'll be like, based on what Patrick said as far as when this would ever happen, because we're seeing inflation costs and construction continue to go up. What I would say is, if we get serious for this, to do that, then we would do a real detailed cost breakdown of every piece of it, so we would really know based on current costs today, and then talk to folks in the industry about what we're seeing in that inflation cost.
And how much does a study like that cost?
Oh, that wouldn't take us, but I don't know, we could probably do it for a couple of $1,000 just to get in
Oh,
there.
okay,
and do
all
an estimate.
right.
It's,
You're
no,
right.
a
You're
lot of
right.
that is just the time to do it, but we wouldn't be a big
Right.
deal.
The other thing would be, what are we talking about for a traffic light per intersection?
So you're going to be looking at somewhere around 750,000 for that signal there. By the time we got to it and everything with with costs, the way we're seeing the steel and that kind of stuff, you could be close to $1 million.
All right,
But-
so, because we're not going to do it this year. And we're.
And that's what
even
I'm
if we
understanding,
Decide to
so-
go, we're still
Yeah.
a year out.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
got
right.
it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are the questions, I have a question. Are the questions, anyone?
I have a lot, but because of our time constraints, I don't think we can do justice to a discussion.
It's hard. So I'd like to ask the question, because we talk about the roundabout. And I know people out here may not like the roundabout, they may like the signals. So let's give it a fair shot at signals. What is the negative perception in the town of signals? We're looking at people back there with roundabouts, they talked about that.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in a signal? That's the question. Okay.
I think the cost estimate is slightly different than my colleague here has put in place. I've installed plenty of signals around, so
Okay.
we'd have to probably.
Mark, you mind coming to the,
So
and then
as he's
if you have
coming
a
up, let
number.
me tell you where I get signal costs from.
Yep.
We just bid one.
Okay.
And we design them and we bid them. So
Okay.
the last one we bid was what? 650. It was when? So this last week. We've got real-time cost on the same kind of signal that you would have here at a similar intersection.
Okay.
And so they used to be here in the last, like about 3 years ago, around 175 to 200,000. The steel prices and the technology and everything have gone up tremendously. So we're designing them and bid them all the time. We're not in the business of building them, but we track that cost.
Good.
So that's where we get it from. And that's why I was saying about 750 for this compared to the one that we just bid last week.
Okay. Mark, did you have a comment?
No, I appreciate everything like this gentleman said. I've installed signals across the United States, so
Come to the mic.
I have not done them in Trophy Club, Texas, so maybe the numbers for Trophy Club are more appropriate. But I was going to suggest, and based off of your time, if there was a possibility to maybe have a separate workshop where we could discuss this stuff in detail and we could walk through things, and I'd be happy to be part of that committee to walk through this with the community and with yourselves. Because I know you have a very tight budget tonight, or a very tight time tonight, and other things to do. And I don't know if that's a
There's so much to
possibility.
explore on this yet, too. I mean, it's not like
I
a
think
done
so.
deal, so.
Well, Mayor, I would agree with that, but also we need really good numbers. And that would be part of that workshop. I mean, the difference between 5 and 6 million and 3 million is a whole lot of money. So we would need to nail that down, plus address some of the issues, so.
Well, and I think, which you addressed, there's going to be an escalation if we're going to be putting either one of these things off for a couple of years. There's still going to be more escalation that's going to happen that would have to be addressed, and I don't know where the numbers came from, if it's today's numbers or 2025 numbers. Yeah. So that 3 to 5 million is probably going to be slightly more in 2025,
I get that.
if that's the period.
I have, can I-
Yes, Stacy?
for the sake of time, we don't have money from Denton County. The bonds haven't sold. We're looking at a year or two out. I think maybe we should take the time to reach out into the community and have a conversation and open it up to them. Really see what they want, what they don't want, what they like, what they do like, and take that time to do that first. Maybe have a committee, maybe see what those numbers really look like between now and then move forward. I just don't want to spin our wheels now based on information that we don't even have yet, and we don't even know what the community really wants or needs.
And so out of this, we will consider putting together some kind of a committee with a town input. And we also have a new town manager coming who, he already has his plate so full. But this also, I want everyone to know that in January, we are having a significant council strategic planning. And this all folds into there as well. So it's a capital improvement project, and it's something that we have a lot of time to investigate based on all the information you've already done, Tom, to support where we're going. So I think that this is an opportunity. Brandon's right back there. He's taking notes. He's taking notes. So this is a very important decision for the town going forward and our strategic plan.
And what we can do is as
Yeah.
you would know,
Yeah.
we're here at the town's pleasure.
Of
So
course.
we don't have an agenda. Ours is just to tell you, we looked at what we were asked to
That's-
look
yep.
at. And I've been asked to make a recommendation. I don't like making recommendations because I don't live here. So I much prefer to give you the information. That's why you guys get paid the big bucks to do that. But
And it is big bucks.
I know that, and maybe you'll get a raise someday. But that, one thing Patrick reminded me of, all of this has started with looking at those windows in the morning in school when you get most of your traffic, and in the afternoons when people are coming to pick their kiddos up. And then the rest of the day, and I think that comment was made earlier, the traffic does tend to even out because you don't have the cut-through traffic, you have more of your local traffic. And that's what we always look at. We take counts for background, what's the existing traffic doing, and then we try to do projections, what that would look like. But, yeah, we're talking about a fairly narrow window in the morning and the afternoon. That's how most cities do these intersection evaluations, and that's where most of the complaints come from. But
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
I thought this was going to be the detailed, okay? I'm very,
Oh.
I'm very upset that this is short-term. That's one. I thought we were going to really discuss this whole thing and get it worked out and with some real numbers. That's the other thing is I think this needs to be a council and not a subcommittee. I think the whole council needs to participate, and it needs to be. And if we need to start at 5 o'clock and have a 2-hour session, or schedule 2 or 3 sessions to detail what things are, and try to come up and try to deal with some realistic numbers, because I entered into this with a $6 million bond, which somebody mentioned the cost of them. The $6 million bond costs $9.1 million after interest is paid. Okay? And for that, you could hire 3 more policemen for 20 years. So, to stand there at the intersection. That's the type of conversation I want, okay? And if we need to, I'd like to have it scheduled where we're not interrupted by time. Thank you, Mayor.
So it would be nice if we had our little buttons, so when we're trying to talk,
Yeah.
everybody else doesn't talk in front of us. To me, 114 is not done yet. That's going to impact the traffic flow. The stadium they're going to put in is going to impact the traffic flow. And for us to sink millions of dollars into something now, not knowing what the impact is on those, to me, is lunacy. So we need to slow roll this until we know what the real impact is.
And what I understood there with that county bond, that the town, when they made the application, they made it for 2 roundabouts. That's
Three.
what, I was there, but it was
It was
3
three.
after the
One at
application?
Marshall Creek.
Okay, 3, okay. I wasn't sure what they were doing. I knew it was more than one, that $6 million wasn't
They just
representing
jump in,
one
they don't care.
roundabout.
I do.
I know.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yes, Jeff.
Okay, there was a survey, town survey that was done in 2021, and the rating for the services in the town, number 1 was fire department and EMS, 2 was trash and recycling services, 3 was police services, 4 playgrounds, parks, recreation areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was sports fields and facilities maintenance. And last was traffic safety. 52% of the respondents had said traffic and safety were an issue.
Well, traffic is an issue in this town, and there are solutions to it, and we're going to work toward that as we continue forward. I have noted here, 2018, the study started, and it's 2023. So here we are. And so we're going to continue this discussion in our workshop. And Dennis, I'm sorry, I can't imagine resolving and taking
Well, I
action
wasn't
in-
trying to
in an
resolve
hour.
something. I need full transparency
well-
on everything. Roundabouts, traffic lights, hiring more people.
And I agree.
Cost, and the real cost. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
And so this workshop opened up the conversation again in 2023. So any other comments before we move to the next item? Are y'all good? Carl, you good?
Yes.
Are you good? Okay. I will close it at that then. Thank you for your comments. I still want to know, if we put a signal light, I have one question. We put a signal light in that corner, would you accept a signal light? Well, there you go. I'm not going to answer that. Okay, thank you. There you go. Just curious. Okay, we're going to move to the next item, which is the discussion of code of ethics and conduct, which Dean, our town attorney, will conduct for us.
All right, so Chief is going to put the thumb drive in there, and we'll get the presentation up. So I do want to, there have been a lot of questions. I want to give you some good background so you can understand where the ordinance comes from. First of all, it comes from your charter. A lot of the ordinance tracks state law. So under state law, you have several code of conduct and ethics provisions that will apply. They're designed to resolve conflicts of interest, disclose interested parties, and okay. So, again, state law has its own conflict of interest provisions. You're going to hear some words and some phrases that you might be used to. For example, Chapter 171, that's typically where you would file an affidavit if you have a substantial interest in a business. Sometimes if we're discussing property or a certain business, you want to take a look at whether or not Chapter 171 applies to you. The conflict of interest questionnaire and other CIS form are promulgated by the state. This is the Texas Ethics Commission, and so you'll see that too. That's Chapter 176. So when we talk about a 176 or a CIS or CIQ forms, we're talking about the Texas Ethics Commission forms that are provided, and those are designed to address agreements that are being entered into with the governing body, with the city. And Chapter 212 is kind of a little known provision about conflict of interest. This Chapter 212 deals with plats and other zoning ordinances. And so there's also an affidavit provision in there when you're dealing with a plat on property that you might own that's being subdivided. You'll have to file an affidavit. Again, these are all your state law provisions, 171, 176, and then 212. And with these, you'll find criminal provisions that can apply up to Class A misdemeanor, including civil penalties, or excuse me, criminal penalties up to $4,000. So Class A misdemeanor could be up to 1 year in prison. So these are the big state hooks that are designed to address conflicts of interest generally. Whether they really do that or not is something that the state can resolve. There's also this Chapter 2252 form. This is disclosure of interested parties. You'll hear this called or referred to as the 1295 form. That form is also provided by the Texas Ethics Commission. So these are forms that contractors should be providing anytime we're doing an agreement that requires the approval of the governing body or agreements that are over $1 million. So you have your town charter. Town charter requires an ethics commission. It also requires you to adopt an ethics ordinance. And that's where you get your town ordinance for ethics. So this is, I kind of broke that same section down. Section 11.14 requires adoption of code of ethics and conduct, requires establishment of an independent ethics commission, applies to elected officers, appointed board, commission, and committee members, and employees. I know there's been some questions, concerns about employees. The employee language comes from your charter, okay? And so that's why you find it in the ordinance as well. Now, there's a limitation. It says that no member of the commission may hold elective or appointed office under the town or any other government or hold any political party office. So as you go and you select these 5 members that you'll have for your commission, make sure that they are not limited by this requirement in your charter. And there's also a provision in the charter that says that you got to fund it. So you can't decide that you're going to defund the commission. Any questions so far? I'm trying to move quick here. Okay.
Mayor, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Go back to the elected, the point you just made,
Mhm.
elected officials for the town. Who does that include? Does that include council, I would assume?
Yes.
Does it include mud directors, for example?
So those are not officers of the town.
Okay, thank you.
But it would include board-appointed members.
Yes. If someone else, well, but then there's also this limitation here, so just remember that. No member of the commission may hold elective or appointed office under the town or any other government.
Right.
And whether or not that's a standard that can really withstand scrutiny in a court, I mean, that is your charter provision.
Jeff?
So, Steve, were you looking for the fact that we potentially have a MUD member that's sitting on one of our boards or commissions?
No, it was more a personal question because I got involved in this very issue as a mud director, and I just was clarification for me.
Yeah, was that back in 2011 or before
It was
2000?
after.
Okay,
No.
okay. Yeah, so sometimes you wonder, where do these provisions come from? I mean, it's not a bad provision. I've seen it in other ordinances. This is in your charter, so this is what the people have decided should govern this commission. So these are, now I'm actually in the ordinance now. So you have a charter provision. Charter provision requires you to adopt an ordinance. That's where we are. So this is the policy statement in the ordinance. It has 5 separate points that it outlines. The policy statement is designed to give you general guidelines, understanding of what is the real intent here. So all of the ordinance provisions, just so you know, they can be changed. The charter, you're going to need to go through charter review and have your election. Okay. Any questions about the policy statement?
Any questions, anybody?
Okay, so your ordinance also has a provision that helps you understand the applicability. How does the ordinance apply and to whom does it apply? All town officials, candidates, appointees, and employees. So what it does is it tries to track the charter language. Okay, so we're carrying down charter language into the ordinance. Whether elected or appointed, paid or unpaid, serves not only as a guide for official conduct of the town's public servants, but also as a basis for discipline for those who refuse to abide by its terms. And we'll talk about what that really means in a minute. There's an exception here. It says, does not apply to political contributions, loans, expenditures, reports, or regulation of political campaigns or the conduct of candidates in such campaigns, except as expressly provided herein. Okay, and so if you're just looking at the word political contributions, loans, expenditures, reports, those things related to political campaigns that qualify either except as expressly provided herein is difficult to apply under the ordinance. I would say we don't really know what that means. There's no other provision that really addresses that. But there is provision that addresses candidates. So I believe that language there is referring back to the conduct of candidates in such campaigns. And so, as you're aware, I believe when you're dealing with campaigns, there are certain rules that govern. You also have advisory opinions that are provided by the state governing how certain things can and can't be done as you're running through your campaign. Principles of conduct. So these are principles, okay? High concept, values, the conduct, and I've referenced the section there. There's a list And the list provides kind of conceptual, right? Big idea, this is what we really want, okay? But they're not designed to be enforced specifically under the ethics ordinance. And it says it here, that it may not be used to create a cause of action against an elected or appointed town official, candidate, appointee, or employee under this article. It's a statement of principles only. So you have to kind of move down now to the definitions, and that's the next part of the ordinance, and your definitions start to tell you what really the ethics code can be used to apply. So substantial interest. There is, and I mentioned this before, Chapter 171, it includes a definition of substantial interest. Your ethics code has a more stringent definition, okay? It's fleshed out some issues in state law that are not exactly included in state law, but maybe might be inferred by some of the language, okay? So you actually have a definition of substantial interest that is a little bit more stringent than what you'll find in state law. Some of that's going to be property thresholds, I believe, under state laws, 15,000 and in the ordinance 5,000, for example. It's that kind of thing. It talks about being an owner of a corporation, okay? So state law is a little bit more loose on that. So you might be able to file your Chapter 171 form, or your affidavit, but you also need to go back and you look at your ethics code to see factually whether you need to add additional facts to that affidavit to address the ethics code. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions about that? Okay, standards of conduct and prohibited acts, that's section 004, outlines all of the standards of conduct. We're gonna talk a little bit about those. We don't have much time. I mean, you could really go through those and talk about them all day. Disclosure of interest, abstention from voting. Again, those are designed to track generally state law. So you kind of have like this layer upon layer of ethics requirements that you should really be aware of when you're filing your affidavits of addressing the substantial interest and disclosure of interest. All right, so the standard for your ordinance, legal standard, is clear and convincing evidence, okay? So I'll try and explain this the best I can. Beyond a reasonable doubt is your criminal statute, okay? That's not beyond all doubt, just beyond reasonable doubt, okay? Clear and convincing evidence is the next lowest, and then probable cause. Excuse me. You can tell I don't do personal injury. It is, sorry, did someone say that? Preponderance of the evidence. Sorry, it slipped my mind. Think of probable cause. Preponderance of the evidence, clear and convincing evidence, and then beyond a reasonable doubt. So the standard here is clear and convincing evidence. It's in between, somewhere in between the lowest and the highest threshold, okay? The reason for that is because you might be addressing some actual property interests, like, or at least interests that have been determined to be akin to property interests, like keeping a job, okay? Evidence that is legally and factually sufficient such that a fact finder could reasonably form a firm belief or conviction that the allegation is true, okay? A little bit higher than a preponderance of the evidence, which normally would be like 51%, okay? There's been some questions about how does this apply to family members. So that language that you see there in the ethics ordinance is in line with what you have under state law, okay? Applies to those related within the first degree of consanguinity or affinity, and then you have to go to the Texas government code and figure out what does that really mean, and this is a good summary. Father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife, spouse's son, spouse's daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, father-in-law, and mother-in-law. And if you really want to go through and do the analysis, try to figure out how all those really apply, Texas Government Code Chapter 573, okay? And so 573 is also referenced in Chapter 171 relating to substantial interest, and also in Chapter 212 dealing with plats and zoning requirements. All right, any other questions? Here, okay. So do you want to go through the standards of conduct? I don't know that we have time. I know that you have some more pointed questions I want to get to, especially as the ordinance really operates. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through, a lot of these are pretty standard. If we're talking about gifts, the general threshold under $50, non-pecuniary, meaning like non-monetary gifts, you're always going to be pretty much safe as long as they're valued under $50. There's provision about confidential information. You can't use the information that you gain as a town employee or through the whole list to personally benefit. I'm just going to move forward here. Okay. Ethics Review Commission. 5 members, 2 alternates, 4 members constitute a quorum. Vote of 3 members to approve actions. Meets at least once a year and may make recommendations to revise the ordinance. So that's the role that they would have. They could review the ordinance, figure out likes or dislikes. They could listen to this conversation, hear your comments, come back and say, hey, this is where we think we can make an adjustment, or we can, increase the strength of the ordinance, scale it back, however they want to do it. It's always subject to town council approval.
So what I'm going to interrupt you, that would, excuse me, that would be the responsibility of the commission to take all that we're seeing here and ask ourselves the question, is this appropriate and this is meet the need of the town of Trophy Club?
Right.
And they vet all that information and come back to the council with recommendation.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it all starts really with our board to take a good look at what we've got. Is it doing what we want? And if it's not, then they can give us recommendations.
Right.
And or go out and look at other ethics, board ethics, town ethics, and see, find a best practice. And what are we doing that we're not doing? What can we do that we need to be doing?
Sure, that could be part of their review as they determine. Now, none of this precludes the town council from bringing the ordinance and making, proposing revisions, working through it however they need to.
Okay.
So one of the things the commission can do is they can issue advisory opinions when requested. Okay? So this is kind of like if you ever had to do this while you're campaigning, you ask the state for an advisory opinion. There are a lot out there. Some of them are very, very fact-specific. They're difficult to understand. And that's kind of the role here. That's what would happen is you could go and you could ask them for an advisory opinion before you were to act so that you could make sure that the commission kind of gave you a blessing on the action that you're going to take, okay? Advisory opinion is a defense, but it has to be sincere, and you have to actually provide them all the facts. And so even though you might ask for an advisory opinion, it can't be contrived, okay? Jurisdiction requires a written complaint. So if someone is going to file an ethics complaint, it has to be in writing, has to be on the form provided by the ordinance. There is a specific form in the ordinance. It has to be notarized, sworn to. So now we're already getting to a higher standard than you might see with other kind of, like, say if you're going to make a complaint online or call a council member. Now we're talking about real sworn complaints on a form provided by the ordinance. Everything must be correct when it's submitted. A violation cannot be older than a year. So the complaint should not be digging up old ethics violations, otherwise the commission has no jurisdiction. Complaint cannot be filed 60 days prior to election or during elections. Basically, and there's more language to it in the ordinance. The presentation is a summary, okay? So the ordinance does talk about, if there's a runoff election, you're gonna have a longer time period. So it accounts for all that. So I just summarized that during the election period. okay? So here is, again, use the form required by the ordinance. Town secretary gives a false statement notification. So to show you how serious the ordinance is about people submitting complaints, after they do that, within 3 days, town secretary says, this is notification. If you provide a false statement, you may be subject to criminal penalties. The purpose there is to create a mens rea component. That means that they knowingly are submitting a complaint and they know is not true. Okay? So we're building a record to protect people who are being complained against and to afford them due process. All right? Town attorney reviews for a prima facie case. That means like on the face of the complaint, is it something that fits within the ordinance? Okay, very, very low standard. And that's, I would have to make a determination, either me or if you were to have another attorney look at it, we'd need to do that within 7 days. If forwarded, then the date is set for a preliminary hearing. So notice should be given for a preliminary hearing around 10 days. Preliminary hearing is not the final hearing. Preliminary hearing just needs reasonable grounds. So people come submit some evidence, but it's not the full-blown hearing. And the purpose of the preliminary hearing is to see, do we need a real final hearing on the matter? Okay? Again, the final hearing, the standard, legal standard is clear and convincing evidence. So in that case, people will be able to submit evidence, cross-examine, do things that you wouldn't do in the preliminary hearing. Okay, so I've stopped it there. I want to go to the ordinance and talk about sanctions. What comes next? So if y'all have that in hand, I know there's lots of questions about that.
Are there questions about this? Where are we? Anybody, questions?
I can hold on for a later date.
Okay,
I can wait.
there you
Okay.
go.
Okay, yeah, I think that part deserves a lot more
It does.
discussion.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you,
Yep.
Dean.
Could we continue this in the January?
We can continue talking about this again, will be a part of some of our discussion when we do our workshop, our workshop, the January workshop,
Okay.
retreat, the retreat, that's what it is. Also, when I see this, I'm thinking, okay, where, has any of this ever been used in Trophy Club? Okey-dokey. Thank you very much, Dean, I appreciate it. It's a good job. We still need to finish our agenda item number 3. This is a very important agenda item. We need to come out of here with a date for a workshop. And I know that we want to discuss the workshop, so are there questions regarding our retreat in January, which is something that is required by law, and we want to do it in January.
Could we postpone this till later on in the meeting?
Discussion of this,
Discussion of this item,
can we do that?
and then get on with the regular session?
Are we just trying to pick a date?
Is it just the date you want?
You know, we just need to, we need to walk out of here with a date, if that's
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
And-
I'm fine with a date.
Knock it out.
Let's knock it out, so that you will look at the last month, I don't have it in front of me. Tamara, do you have the date? What,
27th is the last
Pick a
Saturday.
date.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead, continue, pick a date.
Okay, let's continue, look for the dates.
So
What we're going to do is we want a 2-hour window on Friday night.
Yes.
And a 5 to 6 hour window on Saturday. That's what we're looking at.
correct,
And we have possibly 3 weekends in January. 2, down to 2. Okay.
2. SGR requests that we bring the proposal and agenda to council to get approved. That would have to happen on January 8th. That brings the council retreat to either the 12th or 13th of January or January 19th through the 20th.
Let me just indicate to you, on the 17th, we are having a meet and greet open house on the 17th. So if you want to do that that's a Thursday night? Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
So if you did that the 17th, that makes the 19th and the 23rd a commitment to the town as well. So just keep that in mind.
So you're wanting 2 hours on Friday?
2 hours Friday evening, sometime, we don't know exactly, and 5 to 6 hours on Saturday.
I'd like to recommend the 20th.
All those in favor of the 20th?
This is,
No,
No, it
no
would be
action.
it'd be the 7th,
Well, the
prefer the
19th
20th.
is
The 19th
Friday,
and
20th
19th
is
and
the Saturday.
20th.
that's right, 19th is a Friday, 20th is a Saturday.
Works for me.
Works for
Everybody?
me,
Works for you,
good.
Jeff?
19th and 20th.
Carl, me, Dennis, Steve, done.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor and Council.
Okey-doke. We needed to adjourn this work session, please, adjournment?
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
If you adjourn the work session, you will not be able to discuss this item later in the meeting.
That's okay, we just got the date. That's all
Okay.
we wanted, please. Okay. All right, adjourned, and we're going to just take a walk around for about 5 minutes. Would you please? Time is 7:05, adjourned. Boy, I'll tell you, if you do, you're going to screw it up because we don't have. Date?
I need to get a copy of it. Jill, is it on that machine? I need to get a copy of it.
Supposed to use. Oh, no, we will not do this
You don't
without.
know? Okay.
Yes. Hey, what's up?
You're just
I'd
whether or
like
not
a copy.
you do this.
Yeah.
Another town survey.
Okay.
All right, the SDR, or consultant that did the last town manager on your slide, spent a lot of time doing team building. We don't need team building. We need to be able to have discussion. We need to have, be able to not be led by the town staff, but have discussion among ourselves. Okay.
I told him, I said, I'm less interested in team building and more interested in governance. Now, when I talked to him,
That's up to Dean to decide. Because I'm like, well, those contracts are separate.
I need to get another coffee. Okay, that's, I'm sorry, I'm just disappointed. No, I like it.
so when you said it, you are thinking.
Yeah. I'm like, what do we? Okay, she's bringing it back.
we're gonna get a copy of it. So this will be prompted. And they'll prompt you here, and then you guys just use this keyboard to go ahead and move forward and backwards. Cool? Very good. So have a seat or stand in the back for now, and then we can, she'll call you guys up, and then we'll do a picture.
I'll pass out.
Hey, get out of there. That's not by your workstation.
I'm looking for my Kit Kat.
Where's the Candy Miles down here? They have access to everything all day. Yeah, I'm having some dinner.
The way they're practicing their the inquiry grant works really well together with our interim there.
I guess.
We, well, been very cautious. No, you're not.
Fun time. It's almost a flashback.
Yeah. I hear you. Have you looked at the survey that we did in 2020? I have not. No, but it's a very good.
And I'm calling to order our town council meeting for good grief, November the 13th, 2023. Here we are. It's going to be Christmas soon. So we appreciate you being here, and we would like to ask the minister, Jeff Brooks, from Lake City's Church of Christ, to lead us in prayer. Would you please stand?
Let's bow together. Lord God, we are thankful, grateful to be called your kids. Lord, we're thankful for your creation and that you've created us to bear your image. Lord, help us to be good citizens and good people. Make us a little kinder, a little nicer. Give us a little more grace, especially during this season. Father, we're thankful for this group, for this council that makes wise decisions. We pray that you would give them even more wisdom. We're thankful for the group that surrounds them, all their support staff, that they serve behind the scenes and the shadows, Lord, but we're thankful for men and women such as these. Lord, bless them and keep them. Make your face shine upon them and give them peace. In the name of Jesus, amen.
If you've ever wondered why council looks at you when we're doing the pledges, because there's flags back there. So, would you please join me as we honor our nation? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, Tammy, do we have public comments?
Mayor, we have one, Larry Hoover, 1118 Berkshire Court, Trophy Club.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Larry Hoover. I've lived in Trophy Club since 1982, 41 years, and I've lived at 1118 Berkshire Court for 30 years. The fence behind my house has been in its original position and the original style of a shadow fence since the house was built in 1978. The fence is 1.5 feet inside my property line. Several weeks ago, the neighbor behind me decided that he didn't like a shadow fence, and he slabbed it on the outside of my fence without getting a permit. So I went to the city, wrote a letter to the mayor and the city manager, and complained and asked them to remove it. Paul did send a letter to the owner to remove it within 10 days, and nothing happened. So I went back to the city, and they said, well, we think it's a civil matter. We are not going to get involved. I said, oh, really? Well, so the letter you sent out is meaningless. And two, if he didn't get a permit, then the fence was changed without a permit. So who's in violation? Am I in violation because it's my fence and there was no permit? So you've got to be consistent about enforcing your code, and you're not. So I expect you to follow through and follow up with the letter that in 10 days he has to remove everything that he put on my fence. Thank you.
Thank you. Other presenters?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. What we would like to do is, I have the great privilege of introducing a young group from Medlin who will be speaking to us on their project. And would y'all like to come up and present? And as they're coming, I will just tell you how this occurred. I received an email from Madeline, and she said, I want to meet with you about air pollution in Trophy Club. And I said, are you kidding me? I don't know. So I invited Chief Wise to come and join us. And then she said to me, we want to talk about plants and air pollution. I said, okay, then I'm going to also include our interim park director, Ronnie Engel. We had a wonderful meeting last week, and they came with their project, and this is what they're going to be presenting to you today. Thank you for being here. What a blessing it is to have you.
Hello, we are Care for the Air by Alyssa, Caitlin, Maddie, and Olivia. Here's a bit about us. Hello, we're a small group of 6th and 7th graders at Mellon Middle School out on a mission to help our community. We found out that air pollution is a problem and can get substantially worse over time if we don't do anything about it. Thus, we are Care for the Air, a group of 4 who will help our community and our environment one step at a time. What we will discuss: air pollution everywhere, reasons for air pollution, our plan, and how you can help. Air pollution everywhere. Did you know that 99% of air on Earth is polluted? Much of the air we breathe is polluted by household devices, motor vehicles, industrial facilities, and forest fires. These products release bad gases and chemicals that are harmful to our body. Even though air pollution is a big deal in our community, no one really knows about this. After giving a survey to a sample of the citizens in Roanoke and Trophy Club, we discovered that most people don't really know about or believe that air pollution is a problem. However, our air pollution enemy is always lurking around us, even if we can't see it. All right. Did you know about 3.2 million deaths around the world occurred from air pollution in 2020? Furthermore, with 7.8 billion people living on this planet, there is an estimate of 2 out of every 10 people that die from air pollution every year. This is our air pollution map, where we are. This map shows us where the most pollution is located in Texas. Try to focus on the big areas crowded with the dots, which is where most of the air pollution is located in Texas. Trophy Club is located in the middle of a huge clump at the top. Thank you to Miss Stephanie Presley. She has given us thank you to Miss Stephanie Presley for giving us this map. It has helped us and better understand how much air pollution. If we go here, we are located in the middle of this big clump.
The air pollution in our community is increasing drastically. Even though we don't know it, it is there. It is taking a toll on us. While the environment's health and human health is decreasing drastically.
Reasons for air pollution. Many reasons are from having household devices, as I said earlier, from like using microwaves or maybe ovens that are old and can create other gases. Forest fires, as I said earlier also, they can release gases that produce into clouds and cover up much of the sunlight we need for plants and trees to grow and populate. Also electricity that has also been used for those other reasons as well.
The plan. Right now, we don't have that many trees, and some trees will eventually be cut down for our expanding community. With this, air pollution will rise. However, by planting trees and spreading awareness, we hope we can change that and lessen air pollution for both us and our environment. How you can help. You can help us by going to our survey. We created a survey to gather information on what our community thinks about air pollution. If you'd like, you can scan this QR code and answer some questions. This will help us a lot. Another way you can help is by donating to us. We will be passing around a jar, maybe not right now, but later, that if you have any extra loose change you would like to give, please do so. It will help us. If we raise enough money, we'll use the money to buy new trees to put all around Trophy Club to make it look prettier and have better air quality.
Any questions?
Can you go back to the QR code?
And
Yeah, leave that up there for a little bit.
and while you're doing that, isn't it true that you are planting some trees?
Yes.
Would you tell us where you're going to be doing that?
Yes, so there was supposed to be a slide. We don't know what happened. It's been glitching all
That's
day.
okay.
And we have met with the head of Parks and Recreational, and we plan on putting it in the front of Independence Park, located right across the street from Medlin Middle School, so everybody can enjoy and look at it before they walk into the beautiful park.
We have also, for trees, we have also reached out to Bergstrom Landscaping, and they have allowed us to have few extra crepe myrtle saplings.
So you have a start on your plan?
Yes.
And now you're wanting people to contribute money to continue buying a few more trees?
That is correct.
Thank you. Y'all have any questions? Stacey, you had a question? Steve, anybody? Okay. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Nice.
Thank you for inviting us.
Love your graphic. Thank you. Isn't there a teacher here in the area? Is there a teacher with you? Would you like to introduce yourself, please? Just very quickly.
Some former students. I'm Tracy Gallagher. I teach at Midland Middle School for about 10 years now.
Okay.
I usually, well, mostly teach ELA, but this is,
Thank you.
yeah, an elective I teach.
Thank you very much. Very nice job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we'll continue then. Update from council members, anything that you have participated in that you'd like to share with the town and with those who are online. And I want to say welcome to those who are online watching us. I'm hoping that our online viewers will increase, and hope it make it interesting so that you will join us each of our council meetings. Okay, doke. Anybody have a comment? Yes, sir. Yes.
I want to thank everybody that participated in the Veterans Day activities, no matter where they were in this country. But I also want to thank the Parks Department for their help on the Trophy Club ceremonies on the Veterans Day. And I want to thank Councilman Carl Munger for his leading in organizing and coordinating everything on that ceremony. Thank you, Carl.
And I'd like to add that TCEVA also supported
Yes.
the effort as well, and that Carl also conducted a ceremony for, what is it?
Patrick
Shrine? Patrick Shrine.
Yeah, Patrick was
yes.
commissioned as a naval ensign on the 10th, Friday the 10th, and that is an event Trophy Club's never had before, I don't believe. So to commission an officer of any branch of the military is pretty special, and to do it at the Veteran Memorial was really nice.
And to add to that, Carl, to hear Patrick's story, it's one thing to be commissioned. I mean, that's special in and of itself. But Patrick has been trying this for 20-plus years. 23 years. And you talk about stick-to-itiveness, you talk about never giving up. Everybody that was at that ceremony, I know I was inspired. He is an inspiration.
Other comments?
Yeah. I just want to say our Byron Nelson Bobcat football team is heading to another game this weekend. I want to say congratulations to them on their by-district championship. We have not seen an undefeated team ever, 11-0. I just want to give a shout out to that team and good luck to them, and safe travels to Midland this week.
Midwest Texas. I don't know, the Eagles in the Midland.
They got this.
I don't know. Those are the good days. Good luck to you, Bobcats. We want you to come home with a win. So we're all supporting you. Any other comments? I guess what I would like to do is be transparent, and that is that I did have the opportunity to meet this past week with the Westlake mayor, and beginning to reach out to our different various mayor communities to establish some relationships. What can we do to work together and to build this fast-growing region that we have? And it was quite an interesting conversation, and also Wade Carroll was there as well, but it was just a very good conversation. So I look forward to more of those. Any other comments? Okey doke. Patrick, do you have any?
Mayor, Council, thank you. I too would like to thank the citizens and the council members and the mayor for the Veterans Memorial Day service and participation. That went very well. We are coming into holiday season, so we're starting our Toys for Tots campaign. You'll see some boxes out here at front and some publicity on our social media stuff for that. The offices will be closed next week on Wednesday, a half day, Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. So remember that coming up. And then moving forward for the rest of the year, our next meeting will be December 11th. So just to remind everybody, we have one meeting left.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to the consent agenda, please. You want to read that, Tammy?
Yes, ma'am. Consent agenda. Item 3, consider approval of the October 23rd, 2023 Town Council meeting minutes. Item 4, consider approval of a purchase order to Delta Fire and Safety Incorporated for the purchase of several personnel protective equipment ensembles. Item 5, consider approval of an ordinance amending subsection I, annual capital improvement and maintenance charge of section A1.014, water and wastewater fees for public improvement district number 1, within Appendix A fee schedule of the Trophy Club Code of Ordinances to adopt a monthly surcharge for PID residents, providing a severability, providing a penalty and providing an effective date. Item 6, consider approval of an ordinance amending Division 3 Open Records of Chapter 1 General Provisions by repealing subsection 1.07.061 36-hour time limit and amending section A1.013 of Appendix A fee schedule by repealing subsection 15 entitled Personnel Charges in Excess of 36 Hours.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items 3 through 5 and pull 6 out for a brief comment.
All right, those in favor? We need a second on that,
Second.
please. Carl seconds that. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion passes 3, 4, 5. Approved in the consent agenda. So now let's take item 6 out, and we will open it up for discussion.
Okay?
Who wants to discuss this?
I just want to make one brief update. Is it not subsection 107.062 as opposed to 061?
Yes, that's correct.
I just want to make sure that we're clear for that and find out if there's anybody else that had any questions that Tammy could potentially answer for them.
Any questions?
Nope.
I think that based on the comment in the agenda, it seems like that Tammy has a good background summary on this particular item.
Fine.
Other questions?
As long as we amend that to 1.07.061, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
062.
Should be
Or 062,
062. A second? Steve
Second.
seconds that. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion approved. Thank you, Jeff, for calling that to our attention.
No, it was Dean that did that.
Oh. Well, okay, good job. We will go to the individual items.
Item 7, discuss, consider, and take action on the Trophy Club Community Pool Project Phase 2.
And Mr. Angle, would you like to?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to come up here again tonight. Just a little bit of background for the people who may not have heard before, but the Community Pool Project Phases 1 and 2 were approved in November of 2022. In June, when I started employment, we started looking at the components of the project for the Phase 2. Phase 1 is already under construction, being worked on. Phase 2 originally was going to be removing the kiddie pool and adding the slides where the kiddie pool was, and then we revisited it because the kiddie pool was a pretty popular feature of the current pool. And so we took it back to the Park Board meeting in August meeting. They voted unanimously to move forward with the project as presented. Came to the October 9th council meeting, presented the project again. There were some questions that we weren't prepared to answer that evening. We're working with Half and Associates. Kirk Wilson was with us that evening, and he's again with us again this evening. And we also have Lane Olivo with Half and Associates here tonight. And I'm actually going to invite Lane up to go through the slides for the revisions that were done and to answer some of the questions that were at the last council meeting.
Good evening. How do we get to the slides? Okay. I'll just go ahead and briefly go through the slides, as I know most of you are familiar with the project, with the presentation from last time. But let's see here. So briefly, we'll go over the site plan. We'll look through the schedule real quick, the budget, and then proposed improvements. And at the end, I've got any questions that we didn't answer from last time within the slides. We'll answer directly on those questions, then we'll open up for other questions as well. If you have questions in the middle of it, that's fine too, but we'll try to address everything that was specifically asked last time right now. So this is the site plan. So similar to what was shown last time. Some of the things that were asked were how was it going to be accessed? How is the party room going to be accessed? Let's see, there's a couple of different ways you can access it inside the pool area from the overhang and garage door area. You can access it outside of the pool area for when the rest of the pool is closed from the parking lot to the north. We were asked kind of what the overall circulation might look like between the slide and the pool party room. And you can see generally it would be on the pool deck that exists. There would be a little bit of an additional pool deck in order to have access to the slide tower and from the plunge pool, or if we, another one of the other options was to add a run out instead of just plunge pool. And we're showing what that footprint might look like here as well. If we do end up going with a run out option, we'll need to shift the entire section back up north and west about 20 or 30 feet outside of the existing fence in order to get the run out in without impacting the existing splash pad. And we'll reconfigure the fence, of course, so that it is inside the fence and lockable. As it stands right now, the plan for this area takes about 5,000 square feet, which ends up being about 500 people in a bleacher setting if you're using like a 15-row set of bleachers or several 15-row sets of bleachers. It's probably a little bit less if we're talking about lawn seating where people bring their own chairs, but it's in that range is about the number of people who would be able to view the competition pool from this side. The party room itself is overall from including the enclosed portion and the exposed exterior portion is about 2,400 square feet. I'm not real sure where the square footage that was shown last time came from, but it was way off, and I apologize for that. But it is about 2,400 square feet total. It's got a 60-person capacity as designed right now. That can be designed right now so that we could expand later, or it could be designed larger now, either way. But we'd need another 750 square feet or so to go from 60 people to 100 people. I'm trying to think, is there anything else on this? Oh, yeah, the utility corridor. People were asking, or one of the questions asked was where the utility corridor was. And all of the sewer, water, and wastewater is all in this parking lot up to the north and has pretty easy access to the building if it's in this location. From a schedule point of view, we're looking at from the day we get approval to notice proceed, about 146 days to construction. Some of that depends on review and comment time by the city. If it's shorter, then we can shorten it. If it's longer, we'll have to extend it a little bit. But that's about where it is right now. So we're looking probably, if we were to get a notice to proceed on, say, Monday, we're looking at somewhere in May, April or May to be able to start construction. One of the questions asked was a little more of a breakdown of the overall costs. This is available. I can go over this a little more in detail right now if you'd like, or we can just leave it here. And you can look at it in more detail later. But this is the breakdown. Yes, sir.
I don't know where to ask questions. This is kind of
This is
remained
fun.
right here.
Sure.
You talked about the party room potential going from 60 to 100,
People,
right?
yes.
People. What's the cost of that?
Well, it's another 750 square feet, and so we're probably looking at about another 400,000?
So that's not included in this price.
No.
So we'd be over budget.
Yes.
Mayor, I've got a
Yes,
question.
Lorianne.
The presentation you said that was submitted to us was incorrect in the square footage. We were presented with 1,016 square feet at a cost of $1,028,000
Right.
and some change. Now we're talking about that being corrected. I've got a problem with you showing it at 2,400 square feet when a big part of that's like a carport. I mean, no commercial or residential appraiser would be talking about the party room size and including a covering outside of the walls.
No, but the contractor would when he built it.
What are we talking about as far as inside the walls?
Inside the walls, we can go back.
Throw out that
Sure.
carport
Well, you can't, okay.
as far
The
as what we're talking about. So we can look at construction costs.
Right.
Because right now, commercial construction cost, if I'm not mistaken, is running around $457, $460 square foot.
Yeah.
So that's important to me to throw out that cover so that I know what actually is going to be within that realm.
But if you construct something with the cover, it's part of the construction cost. You can't
I
really throw it
understand
out.
that, but that wouldn't be at $457 a square foot if it was just a cover.
No, but you wouldn't be, but you also wouldn't be building it just by itself either. If you were just building,
Absolutely.
if you were just building itself by itself, sure, it wouldn't be 436 square
Right.
foot.
But if I
But
had a
as part of the
garage
overall
port
building.
being added on to the house, I wouldn't be expecting to be paying the same thing.
No, but if you built the house and the garage at the same time, you would.
So anyway, I'm
So-
trying to get an understanding of that
Sure.
square
The-
footage.
The square footage breakdown, the difference is 2,400 square feet is inside the enclosed area, and about 736 square feet is outside the enclosed area.
So 2,400 is within the four walls.
No, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 1676 is inside the enclosed. wall.
1676 inside the walls,
Yes.
and then the additional is,
The
okay.
additional 736 is outside.
Since we're asking questions.
Sure.
The party room is going to have restroom facilities.
Yes.
Would those restroom facilities be, have outside access so that they could augment festivities in the other part of the park?
I don't believe so. I believe they're intended only for, unless, they would have outside access when the entire party room had outside access. When if the party room was closed off from the pool area, then no, they would not. Does that make sense?
I'd have to see the design before I could say I fully understood it, but it
If,
doesn't answer the question.
if the
that we
rest,
have.
if the rest of the interior is open to the party room, then the restrooms will be as well, yes.
Okay. And, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So what I'm saying is it shows that there's an exit coming out.
Yes.
Okay. And my question was 4th of July, we utilize that parking lot and then the big grass area next to it. And it would be nice if we, without having to open this or close it off to the pool area, if we could have access into the restroom facilities there to augment the facilities that we have in the baseball square area.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is currently, the current pool house has doors that open to the public when the pool season's not in session. We could open those doors for special events and things. As far as the party room, if there's not a rental at the time, I believe the party room doors, we could design it and build it where doors could be opened on the outside to come into the restrooms during events like you're talking about. That's something that during the design phase, I think is very easy to put in. I don't want to speak for them.
No, it is designed that way. I'm sorry, I misunderstood exactly what you're saying. But yes, even if the pool is closed off, if you've got an event going on outside the pool, they can have access to those restrooms and to augment whatever's going on outside.
And then I had another question, with the pool being sited from, on the angle like that, in what's now currently the grass area for viewing the pool, the competition pool, are you going to extend the concrete deck all the way over to the edge of that? Or are you gonna have that grass strip in there? What's the plan for that?
That's open to for discussion in the design itself. That hasn't really ever been we haven't gotten far enough into design to have that comment really made. So if that's something that the city wants, then yeah. we can look at it.
Question. Go ahead. If you push this up 20 to 30 feet, how much space are we losing as far as the fence line? Does that fence line then gonna butt up to the parking lot? How much?
Yeah, pretty close to it. It'll probably be about 10, 15 feet from the parking lot.
Okay, so what is the square footage, what is the footprint of that pool and the run deck, the runouts? Like, what kind of space are we?
Right, so the runouts themselves are about 50 feet long.
Okay,
And they're the width, of course, the width of the slide, which is about 4 feet, 4 or 5 feet.
okay. And those all sit on a concrete?
Yeah, they just sit on a concrete pad right underneath the runout.
Okay, so if you push that back, are we gonna have to move trees? Like, what does that look like?
I don't believe there's really any trees in that area. I think we could wiggle it around where we're not moving any trees in that area.
I'm going to raise a question, and people may not appreciate it, but we're looking at a party room to hold 60 people. And in this town, for a number of years, we've had the request for a community center where we could have a gathering. And it just seems to me that this might be an opportunity. It's not anything in writing. It's just an opportunity to explore. Is this the opportunity that we could enlarge this space and make it more than just quote-unquote a party room? Absolutely, it'll cost us more. But again, part of our issues of having a center of gathering is space and money. So could we look at this as a possibility to combine both? And, you know, my whole thing is this, at the pool, it's not used all year long. It lays unused quite a bit. We could raise the usage and possibly raise various different applications or uses for it. So if the council is at all interested in exploring that, I think we should. This is an opportunity to do that. And it may not be tonight, but it's part, again, of who are we, what are we going to do for our residents and in the future? And it just seems like that this might be a place to explore.
Mayor,
That's
how
my
many people
point.
are you thinking?
You mean in terms of size?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that they're just able to do 100, so.
Well, but I know, but are you thinking 150? You're thinking 200? Or help me out for, I like your idea. I'm just trying to get how big are we?
Are you getting ready to ask me how big I want it? How about 200? No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what kind of space that would hold, but it's a thought.
Yeah, I think with looking at the construction time frame, we're not going to be building this before the pool opens. So we should take a break here. Give me the opportunity to deal with our new town manager, the new parks director, which we'll have here in a couple of months. I think this is a great time for us to step back and revisit. The slide, I think, is a great idea, the way we're looking to move it around. But the party room, this is an opportunity to revisit that and reshape it. And there is a lot of land over there. We could do something different. So not a 300-person room most probably, but not 3 stories, but, and with the cost savings that they're already talking about, we can do some different stuff.
Thank you very much. Carl, he
I
thinks
love the
I
idea.
overlook him.
Mayor, I love the idea. What I heard earlier, though, was if we want that slide in place for next May, they need to know Monday. Am I right?
That's what he said.
Yeah, so is it possible to start?
Just to start construction in May.
To start construction in May?
Yes.
Okay, I
This
was thinking
design.
the finish.
How long
You
does it
can't,
take?
so you can't start the slide until
Wait,
May?
No.
Oh, this is a year-end project,
Uh-huh.
really. And
You were
then,
going to delay it more. Oh, I'm sorry.
you go ahead.
I like your idea.
Thank you.
I think, I'd like to propose we think along separating these two out and approving the slide in some form or fashion to get going, get moving, and set aside the party room for more discussion. That's my thinking. My question is, if you move that slide out, okay, how much more money is that?
It's not gonna, the slide itself is pretty well designed, as it is. That's not gonna take any more to redesign it.
You're going to take that fence down anyway just to get in there. So the
So,
fence is
yeah.
coming down, so putting it back up is nothing.
There'll be a
And
little extra,
You're going
there'll
to
be
have to
some extra
level some
fence.
land, and
Right.
that's it,
There'll be some extra fence, and there'll be some extra underneath the fence,
minimal.
because of the increased length to go around it, but.
Yeah. So okay, I'd like
if
to
you did-
propose that the
if you
council
did-
consider that, moving it out, the land's there, okay, it's free. It's going to cost a little bit more fencing, a little bit more grading, if I looked at it this morning correctly, and we can get going on it.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would think that that party room could be relooked at on the design entirely and come in a little bit less cost because it was kind of grandiose in its original looks as far as having beams in it and things that maybe we could look at it on a different scale and come into a 2,000 square foot facility that could be multifunctional, and 2,000 square foot at $457 a square foot would be under $1 million. And then that would allow you that overcost for the overage and built still within what we're talking about, the $1,028,000. So I would support you on splitting them out and looking at the design on the party room / multifunctional building differently and separately from the pool, from the slide.
Okay.
One more comment, Mayor.
Yes.
I agree with everything that everybody's saying. When I think of what we've all been hearing about the community center, I don't specifically think of this. That said, I think 60, building it to 60 capacity is way too small, at least 100 or more. So I'm not sure we solve the community center issue, but making it more functional is the way to go, I think.
Well, if we had it 300.
If we did this, we could apply hot funds to it, couldn't we?
Yeah.
If we made it
Oh.
a community center?
That's a civic center. It's different.
There's a center, I think I sent, Patrick, I sent you pictures of it a couple of months ago. North Lake, one of the new communities in North Lake, has a covered area that has a couple of pickleball courts in it, and it has an area that has some outdoor, like couches and a little fire pit thing. And they rent that out to people that want to use it. And it is, when you look at next to that party room, that space over there, if you want a community center, it's not going to be air conditioned, but it could have big ceiling fans in it and be shaded.
Yeah.
So we really need to take a look at what they did out there in North Lake, because some of that could be incorporated here.
Yeah, I think we need to revisit.
There's some possibilities. Think big. 300. Any other comments, other questions? What are we supposed, okay, we need a motion. Do we need a motion? Yes, we need
Mayor, may I
to take
make a
action.
motion? Take action.
Yes, go for it.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the slide with the location moved out, if that wording is satisfactory, and proceed. Separate the party room for later discussion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Anybody? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you again. We'll go to item 8.
Discuss and consider approval of a resolution providing for the appointment of a member to serve on the Trophy Club Economic Development Corporation.
And this is Luann. You want to speak to this, please?
Yes, we have the backup here, but as a summary, there was a conflict between the Articles of Incorporation setting up the EDC and our town charter. the Articles of Incorporation had said that up to 2 members could be from the council. So when the recommendations were made for the committees and the zone and the corporations, we left that blank. We kind of put a pause in that so that we could get a determination from legal as to where we needed to go with this. The determination, of course, is that the hierarchy here is going to be our town charter. So we are not going to appoint a council member as a member of the EDC. Now, so we went back to our treasure trove of applications, and we have a lot of accomplished citizens volunteering. And one of those accomplished citizens has been on an alternate list for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. That's Mr. James Callaway. And this year, we asked if he would serve not as an alternate, but as one of our members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. He has a master's degree in architecture. He handles UNT's commercial projects and all of their buildings. So he's just a master in his craft. Well, when the EDC came up, a lot of what we do when we make determinations in EDC is look at developments. So he was a perfect fit. And we called Mr. Callaway. I talked with both the other members of our subcommittee and asked him if he would consider stepping into the EDC director role. And he's accepted that suggestion. And if we agree to it tonight, we can ask him to step into the director's role with the EDC, with his expertise, and then we'll turn around and we'll appoint a new member to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So that would be the recommendation and the motion that I would make. And
Is that the motion?
that's the motion I would make.
Somebody want to second that? Stacy will second that. Any discussion, further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you very much, Luann.
Okay.
Item 9, future agenda items list.
Patrick, you want to speak to this, please?
Mayor and council, we don't have a lot of changes to this list, so just wanted to ask you real quick if you had any additional items you wanted to add or take away from this list?
I'm questioning, can we take things away? For instance, I'd like to take the comprehensive land plan away. That's going into our, isn't it, is
Yes.
that correct?
Mhm.
What about the Trophy Club park revenues? That's going to our park board for them to determine that. Is that correct?
Yes,
And the Trophy Club community pool,
we just did
Done
dealt with
that?
the first
Take
part of
that
that.
out?
Okay,
I guess we'll leave the Bobcat roundabouts. And the legal descriptive guidelines, that's going into our comprehensive plan, which Luann has. And then I had the question about short-term rentals. Do we want to leave that in there?
Well, I'm just waiting for you to delete it, because that way I don't have to.
I will.
Please.
I said get rid of it.
Thanks, okay.
But I'd like to make, if you don't mind, I'd like to
Sure.
explain why we're
Yes,
deleting it.
do, yes. I was going to-
Short-term rentals is a significant issue in this town, I think.
Yes, sir.
If not, it will be. There's a lot of legal questions to it. I'm saying we need to delete it until somebody takes it through the court system where we won't get sued for making something.
Exactly.
So I'm not trying to ignore our citizens that have spoken up on this issue. It's just a matter of we're a year or two away, and no reason to keep it on the future agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the
Yeah,
reason
and-
I was doing that. Yes.
yes, sir, I'm sorry.
So 2 agenda items that are staying, I just want to clarify, I think that they're going to be on our December meeting agenda, and that is Hogan's Glen drainage.
If we have an update, we will, but that is a legal question. We are negotiating with them, and the
Okay,
agreement is
Dean, I'll
going
look
back
at
and
you.
forth.
We've been talking about it and talking about it, and I know we had a sidebar conversation. Is it reasonable, do you think, that you can get these last couple issues
Yes,
resolved?
yes.
So I would like to
Mhm.
focus on getting that on the agenda.
That's right.
And the same thing with, I believe we're going to have mud feasibility is going to be on the agenda
Yes, sir,
with
it is.
Chris?
And Chris is going to come do a presentation. So
Okay.
if you don't mind, I'll take both of these off and they'll be on the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
That almost completes our list.
Mayor, I'd like to ask.
Yes, sir.
That makes things real easy for
But
Mr. Wright.
Actually, before you do that, what about number one? Won't that be included in our strategic planning as well? Okay, so you can remove that one as well.
Okay.
Throw that one out. Okay, Dennis, you're next.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to, I'm going to need a second from somebody if they agree with me. We just went through the CDC thing, and it was very confusing, and we spent some money on a lawyer to resolve it. The Economic Development Corporation papers have it in there. I think it'd be simpler if we just remove that one part of that, saying that one paragraph that talks about council people. And the council has the right by ordinance to make a change.
That's right.
So I'd like to have that on a future agenda,
Okay, good.
just for clarification, so we don't have to spend any more legal money clarifying something that's simple.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Is this something that?
All those in favor?
No, we're
Oh,
not.
we don't vote. We don't vote. Never mind. You don't have to raise your hand.
Adding it to the list.
Is that something that we could discuss at the January workshop?
Well, just,
It's-
whatever it is, it
it's
has
just
to be
a-
an
it's just
agenda
an-
item
it's
with
just-
a action taken.
Yeah, it's just an ordinance. Okay, any other add-ons, any future agendas? Mr. Brandon Wright, you have a lot to do starting next year.
Starting next
But
couple
before-
weeks, he could start tonight.
Patrick,
you know.
Patrick, before you leave the podium, would anyone like to say something to Patrick? I mean, this is his last event standing in front of us as the interim town manager, and I would like for others to hear what you might like to say to Patrick, and
Mayor?
go for it, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you. Our communications and transparency has been very open, and I appreciate that, and that's what I look forward to. And good luck as you continue with Trophy Club.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, you know, when you kind of signed on the dotted line, it looked like it was going to be maybe 3 or 4 months. Turned out to be 7. Because the process of getting the right person in the seat took that long, and we do have the right person in the seat. But I want to thank you for being there. You were kind of wearing 2 hats, even though you said you had 1. We know kind of deep down you had 2, so we appreciate that. Thanks for being there. Thanks for keeping us on track to the best of you could with this eclectic group of individuals. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Stacy?
I'll try not to get sappy. You have been an absolute savior, especially for me, being new. You've provided stability when we didn't have it. And I can't really say that I can put into words how much I appreciate the honesty, the no's when we needed a no, and a yes when we needed a yes. I'm gonna miss you, but I know we're in good hands, and I know you're on the other side of the wall, so we'll be calling you.
Thank you.
But I can't say thank you enough for being who you are.
Thank you.
I just want to see a before and after picture, like with President Obama, you know, came in, his hair's all black, and then,
He's
One
gonna be
term
great.
later, he's
He
white.
was great when he came.
He's
So-
gonna need a vacation.
yeah, I'm just getting used to calling you Patrick, now I have to go back to calling you Chief.
I know.
I'm happy to see you go back into your uniform job, but I really value what you've done with the town and appreciate your service.
Thank you, sir.
I think you've done an excellent job so far, considering the circumstances. You've been asked to do it too many times already, but you're getting really good at it, so
Hopefully, we don't have to ask you again.
That's right. Yes, that's the plan.
and hopefully another town won't come along and pirate you and say, come on, be our town manager.
Yeah, I don't think
happy
he'd
here.
say
Oh,
yes.
no.
I'm good.
No chance?
I'm looking forward to it.
Chief, I kept calling you chief because I knew you would circle right back, and I didn't want to change status quo, but appreciate your candor, your integrity, your character. We needed that to hold us together. We're a little unwieldy up here, and I know it's a little difficult to keep us all moving in the right direction, but it's so recognized and so appreciated.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Patrick, I thank you, and I'm going to leave it at that. It has been a great experience and a learning experience for me that has been, moved me faster down the track, and I appreciate it so much. And we look forward to you being the chief. You'll sit up here with Chief Wise.
There you go.
So we're delighted to have you, and thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Mayor, Council. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed working with you in this role. It's been challenging at times, but it's been fun at times. We've got some good things done, and I look forward to working with Mr. Wright in the future and making sure he does stay here for quite a while. And it's going to be a good time. So I'm looking forward to the future. So good job, and thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Is there, is there a motion for adjournment?
Executive session.
Oh, what happens?
We have an executive session.
Oh, goodness, I was ready to go.
You don't have to go.
Nice try,
You
Mayor.
don't have to go into executive session if you don't want to.
Don't y'all want to go home instead? Let's vote on that. Okay. We will move into, we will
Adjourn to executive session.
adjourn to
Executive
executive
session.
session. Would you like to read our executive session purpose, please?
Certainly. Pursuant to the following designated sections of the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the town will recess into executive session to discuss the following. Section 551.071, consultation with town attorney to seek legal advice regarding the Trophy Club Community Pool Project. Section 551.074, personnel to deliberate and consider the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officers or employees, to wit, interim town manager, chief of police.
Okay, we will. 80, is it 8:06?
8:06.
Yeah,
That's what it
8:06.
looks like that.
Somebody said 9, I thought.
children there. Scoot me in. Thank you.
So Patrick doesn't have to come back for any more executive sessions. Like he's
So
done with
happy.
you. It's 8:52, we reconvene into a regular session. And is there,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
before you do that, there is no action taken. And now you can.
Now I make my motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second. Stacy, second. Everybody raise your hand, say, we're voting anyway, Tina.
Okay.
We're done.
I'd like,
Got it.
I'd like.
We're
say
voting.
no.
Raise
I'd like
raise
to
that
stay here
hand.
till
So
11.
packaged up here.
Thank you, guys, very much for a great evening.
Thank you.
And I'm getting another one of those